Welcome to Back to Life Wellness with Marianne. Thanks for joining me. Today's video is part 2 of Back to Life tips for brain retrainers. And we're going to focus on getting back to employment, a job, your career. But first off, if you're curious as to what is a brain retrainer, that is someone who has participated in a neuroplasticity program to overcome chronic illness such as chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, multiple chemical and food sensitivities, PTSD, anxiety, post-viral illnesses, and the list goes on and on. I'll leave a link in the description of this video to one of those programs. There's many neuroplasticity programs out there, but you can check that out for more information or to find out if that may be helpful for you. So anyway, this video is for you if you are a brain retrainer who had to step away from life due to the symptoms, and maybe this journey was over a long period of time, and now you think, I think I can get back to work, but you're struggling with where do I even begin? How do I incrementally train? Because it seems like it's really difficult to incrementally train, or at least I struggled with that. You can't just get a job and work 30 minutes once a week and then build up to more hours. It's either, it might be 20 hours or you might start a couple of days a week. So that was just really difficult for me. So I just want to share what I learned over those years and over that time as I was getting back to life and back to employment. So keep in mind, this video does not take into consideration any financial situations. And I am also not a job coach. I'm simply giving, just sharing some tips that I learned along the way and looking at it through a neuroplasticity brain rewiring viewpoint and things that I learned from going through the program I did. Now, also, you will want to check with your healthcare provider before going back to work. And also, if you have a coach, a neuroplasticity coach, of course, bring this up to them and they can help walk you through the process. So let's get started. From the time you think you can go back to work until the time you actually do, wait 1 year. Yeah, 1 year. Now, that length of time may vary depending on your symptoms and other factors. For me, the journey was several years. So, and that's just how it was for me. That's not really a bad thing. But why do I say wait so long? Well, a lot of people with these types of illnesses have perfectionistic tendencies. They are type A's, not all, but they tend to be go-getters, and they push themselves to the next level, and they don't want to let anyone down, including themselves. So, and these type of personalities have their upsides for sure, absolutely, but when it comes to getting back to life, they often push themselves. So just because you can shower and go to the grocery store and it doesn't take 3 or 4 days to recover from that, does not mean you can go back to work. It doesn't mean that you should go back to work. Just my personal experience. So that's why I recommend waiting a year from the time you think you can enter back into the workforce to the time you actually do. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, I encourage you to celebrate where you are. And instead of comparing yourself to others, reward yourself and be in a state of gratitude. That is so super powerful. Instead of what is lacking, focus on the gratitude instead of what I think I should be doing. Do fun things. Laughter yoga, of course. Any way to increase those dose chemicals. You'll want to spend this time enjoying what you can do, okay? So, and just, you can start making a few small commitments, like maybe join a book club or a craft club, or just hang out with friends. Make a commitment to have some friends over once a week or twice a month or whatever works for you. And just start making some small commitments. Another idea is you can volunteer. I encourage you to do something that you love. If you love animals, contact your local animal shelter and just spend whatever time you think you can. Maybe just start with an hour a week or 2 hours or whatever fits into where you are on your journey. There's so many places you can contact the YMCA, you can contact food pantries, you can contact a church, a school, community events. And there's also online volunteer opportunities as well. And while you're doing this, keep working the program. So if you're doing the DNRS program, keep doing rounds and future visualizations around employment and just making those visualizations fun and exciting for you. One of the difficulties I had when I reached this point where, hey, I think I can go back to work, besides waiting, besides holding myself back and giving myself that year, I found it difficult to incrementally train. I was just like, how do you even incrementally train around going back to work? It seemed like it was just all or nothing. So here's some tips to start by. Number one, just getting online and looking for jobs and starting to figure out what's out there. And you can even do your rounds and still follow the program around this. You can check out Indeed, LinkedIn, and other online job sites. And then incrementally train around applying for a job. Go out there, submit your application, or I say go out there, go online, wherever, and submit your application. It doesn't mean you have to take the job, but what you're doing is easing in gradually so it's not an all or nothing suddenly on your nervous system. It's just very, very gradual. And then once you start applying, you may get an opportunity for an interview. Go ahead and interview, even if you think, no, I really don't want this job. Go ahead and interview as a way of incrementally training. Now you may be thinking, what do I even do? What about the job search? Where do I begin? So if the job you were previously doing is your passion and it is healthy for you, go for it. Okay? But sometimes we need to make a switch. And either way, it's okay. And either way, just be sure it's something that fits your passion. When you're doing what you love, it actually gives you energy. It makes you feel good. So think of these things. What lights you up? What gives you energy? What fuels your fire? Now, be open to anything, okay? Know that you do not have to go back to what you were doing before. If you don't want to do that, that is totally fine. And if you're concerned about what other people think, you'll want to go back and watch part 1 on Brain Retrainer tips for back to life. Keep in mind, if you've been participating in a neuroplasticity program, you are a new person, physically and mentally. So you may have different passions. You may have a drive to do something else, and that's okay. You do not have to go back to exactly the same thing that you were doing before. Yeah, so don't be surprised if your passions have changed over the years, and don't be shy to pursue them. So when I was looking for employment, I thought this is so difficult because, like I said, it seems like it's all or nothing. It's like 20 hours or 40 hours, and I just want to start with one day. So how do you do that? Depending on your background, there might be some contract work or seasonal work that you can do. And this way, there's no long-term commitment, and you can just kind of get your feet wet and build your confidence. Some jobs, you can sign up for work when you're able, like sometimes teachers can do this with subbing. Sometimes workplace wellness companies hire healthcare workers where they just sign up for when there's an event in their area, if they're able to. So those are just a few ideas. You may want to reframe some of your thinking when you're looking for jobs. Instead of saying, well, I definitely can't do that one. Just say, oh, I'm looking for jobs that are healthy for me. You may not even want to call it a job or work. Maybe that's triggering. So just say something like, I'm looking for something to share my gifts and talents in a healthy way. Okay, so now let's say you got an interview coming up. I know the number one question is, what if they ask me about my gaps in employment? What do I say? I've actually never been asked that question before in an interview. I have seen it on one application that I filled out in my whole entire career. And you can simply just put personal needs. They don't need to know exactly why, but you can be prepared to answer that question in the interview. You will want to answer that question with a positive twist on how your journey strengthened skills that you need for the position. So, you can say something like, after going through a challenging journey, I became more passionate about, and fill in the blank. I was going through a health challenge, but fast forward, I learned patience, perseverance, and persistence, and that makes me a better employee, or that makes me a better fill in the blank. Here's another one. It also made me think as I was coming back to life to do things I love and enjoy, and it gives me a whole new view on life. I am intentional with how I live, and that includes how I work and what job I choose. Here's an example that was specific to me as a health coach. My journey has helped me bring more empathy to my clients as a health coach. I know what it feels like to look at something that seems like a mile-high brick wall, and it gave me a bigger heart to want to help those who may think their goal is impossible. So as you can see, the focus on answering that question isn't the journey. It's not the specifics about it. It's what you have learned from that and what makes you a better person, a better employee, a better whatever the job may be. So you'll be asked a bunch of questions in the interview, but you want to be sure to ask questions as well. And I encourage you to just do an online search of your job and interview tips and questions to ask during an interview. I will say, be sure to ask things like, what about the hours? You mentioned this job is 8 hours a week. What additional hours may there be? Ask about meetings. What are the expectations? If it's a remote job, do I need to be there on site every once in a while? If it's halfway local, how does that work? Don't be shy to ask those questions. Even people that have not gone through your journey ask those same questions. They want to know the hours. They want to know, hey, you said it was a 20-hour-a-week job. Is that pretty much what it is, or what other expectations are there? So don't be afraid to ask those questions and find out. And you may not even want to call it work. I think I mentioned this earlier. You can just refer to it as sharing my talents, or if you want to have a affirmation or a proclamation that's kind of like this: I'm sharing my talents and passion with confidence and grace as I nurture others and help them meet their needs. And that's pretty generic. That is for any job. And yeah, it doesn't matter if you're collecting garbage or you are working in a big time office as a CEO. You're still helping people either way. When I health coach on an employee site, I usually ask the client, hey, oh, what do you do here? And some people will say, oh, I'm just, and like, no, you are never just anything. Your job is important. They need you. You matter. Okay, so you've aced the interview, you got the job. Here are a few tips from a neuroplasticity point and just from my own experience. Take your breaks without guilt. If you have a break time, take it. Okay, I know. A lot of you are go-getters. But really, you're going to go further if you take care of yourself and take your breaks, okay? Do some deep breathing exercises, and you can do this even when other people are around. If you want more tips on that, you can watch some of my laughter videos. I usually include some breathing in those videos. You can take time on your break, do some laughter yoga, or have some affirmations posted where you're going to see it. Post some fun pictures or sayings that you like. I have a binder that I use for work. So on the front of it, I have my favorite colors. I have some sayings. I have some pictures of my husband and my son and things like that. I have a feel-good toolkit, like pack your favorite treat. You are working, woohoo! You pack something that's going to bring a smile to your face. I usually take some chocolate, of course, you all know that. And just some other things. Maybe on your break, you can call a friend and just have a little chat for a little while. And of course, you want to continue to incrementally train and follow your neuroplasticity program. Remind yourself the old pathway is retired. It's in retirement, okay? And my body knows how to do this. Now, the old pathway is going to try to come out of retirement, okay? Your limbic system is, just don't be surprised if it tries to throw a fit. Be gentle. Talk to it, and you've learned all these things in your neuroplasticity program, so review some of these things, but just let yourself know, hey, we're doing things differently now, okay? There's no threat. There is no stressor. Everything is on track. All is going well. So as I wrap this up, give yourself permission to be human. It's not trial and error, it's trial and learning. And we all have to learn to crawl before we walk, and we learn to walk before we run. So take it step by step. Be gentle with yourself. And remember, as always, you have more control over your well-being than you think you do. Oh, and if you have any comments to add, maybe you've already been through this whole journey, please put them in the comments for someone else. I know there's like a million different tips for this. So thank you, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.